On the phone with us right now is Mark Cuban, the Dallas Mavericks owner, entrepreneur, so much more. Mark, thank you for taking the time. Mark, you probably heard now that the president is essentially tightening up travel restrictions between our Canadian neighbors to the north, our Mexican neighbors to the south, and both of those countries with us. Where do you think this is going?
I have no idea, Neil. I mean, first of all, thank you for staying on the air. It brings some normalcy for all of us, and that's a good thing. But in terms of, where all this goes, I don't know. I mean, and, a lot of people try to point fingers and try to guess who's right and what's being done right or wrong. We're in a scenario where everybody has incomplete and imperfect information. So we're doing a lot more ready, fire, aim rather than ready, aim, fire. And it's just the nature of where we are. So I don't know where it's going to go, but, as a business person and entrepreneur, I'm going to try to be agile and adaptive.
Mark, we know now, effective on Monday, electronic trading will be the only way you could trade on the New York Stock Exchange. So manpower, womanpower across businesses, across the entire nation, virtually being silenced right now. It seems like a recession is inevitable. Goldman Sachs, so many others are putting out statements saying that we're looking at anywhere from a 3 to 5% decline in the quarter we're in, maybe double that in the next quarter, depending on who you talk to. Is this a protracted impact?
Yes, I think there's no question about it. As fast as the administration is trying to move, it's just, it's not fast enough, particularly with providing liquidity to small businesses. So the layoffs are coming fast and furiously. I mean, we literally are in a FUBAR scenario. And, this is where unique things have to happen. And right now, in my opinion, and obviously that's the best I can do, I think we need to do things that kind of break the rules. If it were up to me, I would go to the banks and say, you know what, loan money to every small business that has a tax return in place that you can verify, or that the government can verify prior sales and income and expenses, et cetera, and loan whatever they need. And we'll put in some moral hazards that anybody who tries to cheat the system, it'll be criminal behavior, and we'll deal with them then. But loan money to anybody who says they'll keep their employees, because that'll be the fastest way to deal with it, because it really becomes just a math equation for taxpayers. The helicopter drop loans from every bank to small business minus the amount repaid equals your losses, the write-offs for the government. I think that number will be cheaper than the federal assistance that would be paid to employees that have to go on government assistance programs. And so I think we just have to move now and, deal with the consequences afterwards. Because if we don't, you'll get the cascading effect that you're alluding to, where so many layoffs, so many firings will lead to more firings, which could lead to who knows what. So we've kind of got to break the rules and do things that we haven't done before. And again, I'm not trying to pass judgment on anybody, because no matter what anyone does, it's wrong. No matter what anyone does, they've done with imperfect information. I'm just giving you my opinion.
You have been talking about the prospect of bailouts for a lot of companies, whole sectors of the economy. Those could, as you know, Mark, be far bigger than we experienced right after the financial meltdown. But you've also been saying that kind of money should not be used for buybacks. Do you think that should be a key requirement, that if you're going to get money from Uncle Sam or the U.S. taxpayer, you do not use that dough to buy back your stock? Absolutely, and then some, right? So if you put me, the president, rightfully so, has been bringing in people from all the service industries that have been just decimated, and that's great. But there hasn't been anybody there really representing the taxpayer. So if you walked me in the room and I put on my Shark Tank hat and I was negotiating for taxpayers, I would say, look, one, no stock buyback. That's just the reality. We're in a turnaround mode. That's not a consideration and should never be a consideration. There's no good reason, and I felt this way forever, there's never a good reason to pay somebody to no longer own your stock. Number two, whatever bonus remunerations you give to executives, you need to proportionally give to every single employee. So, for instance, if, as an example, the CEO
is making $1 million, and through options, warrants, or option repricing or stock grants, you provide them $1 million worth of current value, then you need to do the exact same thing for every employee. So if there's somebody who is sweeping the floors and taking a bucket and mopping floors, and they're making $30,000 a year, you give them $30,000 worth of stocks, options, warrants, grants, whatever it may be, because everybody is in this together, and you need everybody to benefit as well. Because the one thing we know, if we just keep on paying people by the hour, they're always going to live paycheck to paycheck. In this FUBAR environment, we get to restate the rules. And again, if I'm negotiating for the taxpayer, if I'm negotiating for the everyday employee, it's exactly what I'm asking for. And if the executives of those companies say no, then you say, you know what? There's still a lot of private equity money on the sidelines. Go work out a deal with them. See if they can come to the table and do a better deal. And if they can, more power to you. But if they can't, this is the only deal I'm doing.
You know, Mark, what I liked, I caught your Dear U.S. Government letter on the COVID-19 virus, in which you spelled out in a very strong sort of a verbal slapping at a lot of corporate America. Dear government, here's why you require companies that receive bailouts to retain 100% of their employees. The cost of the bailout loan and the eventual repayments will cost taxpayers less than the cost of government assistance programs for fired employees. Case closed. I'd like to go a little bit beyond that, Mark, and just to say, does that extend limitless? In other words, once you have gotten any type of money from the government for any type of reason, you've got your feet back on the ground, the company seems to be doing well, you've protected your workers, that you can never buy back your stock?
Yep. If I'm negotiating for we the people of the United States, our taxpayers, damn skippy. I ain't giving them anything, right? It's not your fault that you're in this situation, but it's not the fault either. And we're all at the table negotiating. This is what we require. Right? I'm being a shark. If you can get a better deal elsewhere, go for it. But yep, if the taxpayers deserve just as much opportunity, the employees deserve just as much opportunity if you use taxpayer money as the executive.
So let me ask you this, Mark, and I know our audio connection with you is breaking up a little bit, so I might have to just talk over you here, but the market has tumbled in a big way. It's lost about a third of its value. For the president now, he's underwater on the market from when he was first sworn into office on January 20th, 2017. Now, I guess what I'm asking is that too much? Do you find any value out there? You're a pretty savvy investor in your own right, and I'm just curious whether you are dipping your toes in any of these waters.
Yes, I am. I said before, I bought a little bit of Twitter. I've bought some Live Nation, and then I've been a holder of Netflix and Amazon for a long time now. And what I'm doing, because the VIX is so high, I've been selling calls, way out of the money calls, to take advantage of the volatility. And then the other thing I've done is I've just bought a minimal amount of XPXs or XPYs, which mark Standard & Poor's 500, just a little bit every time the market's down. Not jumping in any one, but just basically dollar cost averaging. Because, I can afford to wait a year, 2 years, 3 years, and I don't think there's any question at some point in the future we'll look back and think this is cheap.
Do you think we need anything like what they're doing in California, like they're doing right now in New York, where they're all but doing a lockdown? That's a bit of a stretch on my part. It's not a lockdown, but It's pretty darn close.
But I get your point. Yeah, I do. Unfortunately, I do. Again, we are dealing with imperfect information. And the only thing you know when you hear something from somebody, including me, is whatever they say is wrong. But when it comes to health, we have to take the most extreme measures, unfortunately. I'd rather look back in 2 years and say, oh, my goodness, I'm so glad we did that. It was really extreme. Everybody hated it, but it was the right thing to do. Then look back and say, oh, my goodness, why didn't we do this? It's catastrophic right now, and we're paying the price. You just got to plan for the worst and hope for the best. And, it's just so hard to do for pulling this together. And there is a silver lining in there somewhere where, we're looking to the government for federal assistance, and that's rightfully so. But we're looking to each other to support each other. And I think that's the silver lining. We're communities are working together, if only virtually. We're talking to each other. We're supporting each other. So there is a silver lining there that can make us stronger. But to directly answer your question, yes, we have no choice. Everything else, we're guessing on everything, and I'd rather guess in the most conservative manner because making a mistake there could be catastrophic.
Mark, you've been very patient. I appreciate it. With you and your family and your kids.
Neil, one more thing.
Sure, go ahead.
One thing I wish the president had done, and I'm not trying to be critical, I'm just making a suggestion. He has no problem calling people out. I wish he would call out 3M, the manufacturer, and I'm hoping I got all this right, the manufacturer of the N95 mask, and saying, what the hell are you doing? Right? Rather than saying we're encouraging, we're supporting, we're helping, we're discussing, just saying, you know what, get off and make these masks. We'll give you the support we need. And, making ventilators is a little bit more difficult and complicated, I'm guessing, but the same thing there. Of all the times he's had no problem calling out specific companies, this is the one time to do it because we need it. This is in the best interest of the country. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And then finally, I think we really need to do more to support our frontline healthcare workers. They're giving up their health, they're giving up their families, they're giving up their sanity to try to save us. And whatever we can do to help and support them, the government needs to be first in line to do that, whether it's financial, whether it's, daycare. We contributed here with the MAVs to daycare workers to help support healthcare workers, but that needs to be up front and center. And whoever he needs, he's got that ultimate platform. He's got no problem using it. Whoever he needs to call out, now's the time.
You're advocating there, it sounds like, Mark, with the mask makers and all the rest, sort of what John Kennedy did with the steel industry when they were upping their prices. Yep. In other words, to take some leadership here and force the issue.
Yep. Look, I have no problem calling out 3M. Right? 3M, do your damn job, right, and stand up for the country and put that ahead of everything else. The president should be able to do the exact same. He's done it before.
Fair enough. Mark, I was going to ask you a personal question, if you'll indulge me. You're very tight with your family. You worship your kids, what dad doesn't, but you practice what you preach. How have they handled this? How have you and the family handled this?
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so my 10-year-old sees some of the upsides. My 13-year-old, he's a boy, and he's playing video games, and he's curious about stuff, so he's so young. So he's saying, my 13-year-old daughter just stays in bed on social media. We're not supporting the issue. My 16-year-old is going to be a lawyer because she argues with me about everything, and it makes a case why she should be able to go. That's been the biggest battle, and every family with kids is going through it. Those parental instincts take over, and it's been a battle, but like everybody else, we'll find a way to get through it. And when we come out on the other side, we'll be stronger for it. And I will say this, here's the other thing. As of this morning, we're trying to figure out a way. So if anybody has any suggestions, just put them on social media for me. We're trying to figure out a way to get them on a schedule to actually not only try to add some new some hobbies, or learn to play an instrument or learn a language or do something. So if anybody has any ideas, I'm all ears.
Yeah, yeah, I'm all for just my kids. Just why don't you pick up a book? Pick up a book. All right, Mark, thank you very much for taking the time. I do appreciate it. Mark Cuban, the Dallas Mavericks owner, entrepreneur, multi-billionaire, good savvy read of markets and everything business, and just common sense.